I never thought I'd tell this story. Not to strangers. Not to friends, not even to myself. I spent decades hiding these words behind the sound of the kettle, the birds outside, the voices on the old radio. But now, at 82, with more memories than plans, more silent nights than hopeful mornings, I think it's time. Time to release this pain that's lived with me like a quiet shadow. My name is Eleanor. And this is the story of how I lost my husband, my son. And how, by miracle or mercy, I found a kind of peace I never thought possible. It all started on a Sunday. The kind of day where the sky seems to promise that everything will be okay. A gentle breeze. A soft sun. No hint of tragedy. Harold, my husband, had left early with David, our only son. They went fishing, like they always did. It was their ritual. Father and son. Comfortable silences, quiet laughs, playful arguments about who caught the biggest fish. Since David was 7, they never missed a Sunday. Now 16, David was taller than me, with his father's broad shoulders and my stubbornness. He caught more fish, laughed louder, told better jokes. And Harold loved every second of it. But that Sunday, only one of them came back home. They say grief comes in waves. But mine didn't. Mine came like a silent flood. And drowned everything. It swallowed my mornings, smothered my smiles, erased even the smell of coffee. Harold died at the lake. Collapsed out of nowhere. No warning. No pain. A sudden heart attack, right as he was laughing, showing off the biggest fish David had ever caught. David ran. He screamed. He looked for help. He did everything right. But nothing would have been enough. And deep down, I think, he already knew that. That night, when the door opened, and I saw my son standing there, alone, soaked, with empty eyes. My heart knew before my mind understood. The plate I was drying slipped from my hands. My knees gave out. But what destroyed me wasn't Harold's absence. It was David's stare. No tears. No words. Just pain and a sentence. If you hadn't made him go, he'd still be alive. That sentence didn't pierce me. It settled inside me. Like a thorn buried too deep to pull out. But sharp enough to remind me, every single day, that I was still breathing. He never blamed me out loud again. But he didn't have to. The accusation lived in the silence. In the way he avoided my gaze. In the plate left untouched. In the absence of the word mom. Slowly, my son began to disappear. First, shorter sentences. Then one-word answers. Until one day, he just stopped. Stopped talking to me. Stopped coming home. And the cruelest part. He left without shouting, without slamming the door, without goodbye. Because sometimes, abandonment makes no sound. It just closes the door. And lets the silence do the rest. I waited. Days, weeks, months. But the phone never rang. My letters came back unopened. The birthday messages ignored. And still, I kept writing. Every Christmas, a card. Every birthday, a gift. At Easter, chocolates with notes full of longing. I never got a single reply. But I refused to stop. Because stopping meant accepting. Accepting that maybe he hated me. Accepting that maybe I'd never see him again. And I'd rather live in an impossible hope. Then bury my son, too, while still alive. 26 years. That's too long to wait. Long enough for hair to turn white. For wrinkles to settle in. For the heart to learn how to beat slower. And sometimes, barely beat at all. In that time I sold the house. Moved into a small cottage with a garden. Left the big life behind. But I never opened the box with Harold's tools. It stayed in the attic, like a shrine to my guilt. I never remarried. Not because there weren't chances. But because, deep down, I felt I deserved to be alone. As if David's silence was a punishment I needed to accept. It happened on a random Thursday. May. Clear skies. I was taking cookies out of the oven when I heard 3 knocks at the door. Firm. Precise. Like someone was returning, or asking to. When I opened it, I almost lost my breath. There he was. David. With graying hair, tired eyes, and a little girl beside him. She held a stuffed bear and looked at me like she already knew me. For a few seconds, the world froze. Time folded in on itself. And it was her voice that brought me back. "Grandma?" she asked, clutching her bear. David looked at me, voice trembling. And whispered. "Her name is Eleanor. After you." I don't remember falling. Just the warmth. The warmth of his arms catching me. Like time had rewound. Like that 16-year-old boy, soaked from the rain, had returned inside this grown man. And now, he wasn't pushing me away. He was holding me. It was our first touch in more than 2 decades. And it was enough. Enough for my chest to break open in sobs. Enough for time to lose its grip. There, on my doorstep, I wept for everything I hadn't wept before. For Harold. For David. For myself. And he wept with me. After the chaos, came the tea. We sat at the same table where Harold once played dominoes with David. The girl, my granddaughter, played quietly on the carpet. And then, he spoke. In fragments. With pauses. With a hoarse voice, thick with unsaid years. He talked about pain. Guilt. Anger. How he had hated me. Not for who I was. But for everything I reminded him of. "I saw Dad in you," he said. "In your laugh. In the way you rolled your sleeves. In how you called my name." And that was unbearable. Because losing his father had shattered him. But seeing me alive was a cruel reminder of what he couldn't have back. We talked until the tea went cold. Until the girl fell asleep on the couch with her bear. David told me about therapy. About years of running. About how he tried to rebuild a life. But always with a hollow space. A void no friend, no job, no relationship could fill. It was only when he became a father that everything shifted. He looked at his daughter and saw in her what he had lost in me. And he realized. Maybe healing meant returning. Forgiveness. Facing the past without letting it consume him. "Leaving you was how I survived," he said. "But coming back is how I finally began to live." Now. He visits every weekend. He brings coffee. Stories. New plants for the garden. Little Eleanor runs through the flowers Harold planted decades ago. She calls me grandma like it's the most natural thing in the world. She laughs like her father did. She hums the same tunes I used to sing while washing dishes. And sometimes, when the light hits her eyes just like it did David's when he was little, she turns to me and says, "Tell me a story, Grandma." And I do. Because now, my heart, though scarred, beats in rhythm with life again. Grief never fully leaves. But forgiveness, oh, forgiveness is like a winter sunbeam. Quiet. Soft. Steady. Able to melt even the oldest ice. Before he became silence, before he was absence, David was noise. Laughter in the hallway. Bare feet running through puddles. I remember one night, he must have been 5. He had a nightmare. Woke up screaming. Ran to my bed with his teddy bear and wide eyes. Curled under my blanket and said, "Mommy, promise you'll never leave me?" And I promised. Not knowing that one day, he'd be the one to leave me. Not out of cruelty, but because sometimes love becomes trauma. And a confused heart runs from the one it loves most. Time doesn't heal everything. That's a lie. Time teaches us to live with the emptiness. To place flowers over pain. To pretend things are normal. But some days, the memories scream. Some days I sit on the porch still waiting for a blue car to turn the corner, like it did 20 years ago. Time, this gentle traitor, also taught me to forgive. Even myself. Because no mother is ready to be hated by her own son. And no mother should die without hearing, "I understand. You were doing your best." If you're still listening, maybe this story isn't just mine. Maybe it's yours too. Maybe you're waiting for a knock. Or for someone to say mom again. Maybe you're trapped in what you lost. And forgetting there's still something left to find. Now, with my granddaughter's eyes on me, I know that pain shaped me, but it didn't end me. And that love, even bruised, can bloom again. Even if it takes decades. Even if it seems too late. My name is Eleanor. And if this story reached you, may it carry a thread of hope along with it. Because forgiveness is always a beginning.